economically, as well as, right, we these days we have get into the usage of internet, via our education is based upon it, our business is based upon it. It has speeden up our daily life, right? So it is very important for us to first of all know that what actually internet is, right? Not that technical details, but a general details, right? So we will discuss, this is the agenda of our session today that we'll be including. The first thing is network and internet, then how it works. Then further, we'll be discussing briefly about what information security is, how it is different from cybersecurity, then IT and network security, right? Then what are the various measures or impacts which attacks are acting on our security, right? So we'll be discussing about what attacks are, on what things these attacks are levied on, like what are the various vulnerabilities, what are threats and risks which are posed by these attacks, right? And what all are the things which are exploited with these attacks, along with the security awareness tips. So this was the agenda of our session. So let's start. The very first thing that comes into picture is the basic entity of this entire internet, which is network, right? We all know that network is the smallest entity which combine itself to form a larger network in the world, which connects thousands and hundreds of individuals, networks all over the world, right? So we can say that it is a global system of interconnected computer networks, right? So this internet is actually provided by a body, you can say a commercial organization, which gives the permanent connection to the, to the subscribers and sell it temporarily, right? It is called ISP, which is known as Internet Service Provider. These internet service providers are basically, you can say, can illustrate by taking the example of, like, it is like America Online, Prodigy, Microsoft AT&T networks. All these are examples of internet service providers. They provide us connections to the internet and we subscribe this service as an internet, right? Now, further moving towards the various categories or various types of computer networks, we got LAN, MAN, and WAN, as you can see over here, right? LAN is a local area network. Then we have MAN, metropolitan area network, and WAN, which is wide area network. In LAN, as you can see in the picture, the systems are connected in a particular manner that is called topology, right? Like here, it is a kind of bus topology wherein each computer is connected in the with the same central line, right? There are many other topologies as well, like bus topology. Those are ring topology. Then there is star topology, right? So many topologies can be there. So the basic criteria behind laying a LAN was that the systems need to communicate with each other, but the major constraint for the same is that it is limited to a certain area only, right? As the name suggests, local area network, that means it is defined, it has a definite area only. Okay. Further, if we talk about, we can take an example. For example, in a school or in a college, we are having various labs, right? Or in a hospital, we are having various labs in which there is an infrastructure and each one of them can communicate to each other, right? So we can call that in a building or in an organization where certain labs are connected to each other, they are in a LAN. Okay. Further, coming to the broader area of network, which is MAN, that is metropolitan area network. Here in the picture itself, you can see that what makes a MAN: a hospital LAN, a school LAN, a factory LAN, a college LAN. Together, it makes MAN, metropolitan area network. Again, the name suggests metropolitan. Metropolitan means entire city's network. Okay. Then further, WAN. WAN is again a combination of LAN and MAN. This is a kind of hybridization, right? Wherein you can take an example of a continent or the country wherein the all small n number of lands and n number of vans are connected together to make van. Fine. So these were the networks, the basic type of networks which are there. These networks connect to each other, or you can say the amalgamization of these networks makes internet, right? Now next thing that comes into our mind is like how internet works. I just click one button or just one link, and I can send the message in the whole, you can say, any kind of multimedia, a file or any kind of video or any kind of message, right? In just a fraction of just in a blink of eye we can do this. But how it actually works? So behind the scene there is one computer which is a sender computer which is sending messages, right? The messages being sent is in the form of digital signals which are then modulated and demodulated with the help of modems, right? It is then converted into analog signals, and ISP, that is Internet Service Provider, then access to the internet. And with the help of these Internet Service Provider, again these analog signals gets converted to the digital signal with the help of modem and is being received by the receiving computer. Okay, the only thing which is accompanied with these signals is the address, okay, which is known as the IP address. Look, whenever we send a message, we always refer to the any mobile number or any email address, right? Similarly, if we consider that we are going to access a website, then we will have that URL, that website name. Okay, so that entire thing is the IP address. Okay, so this communication or this internet functioning is based upon the IP addresses. So IP addresses are actually a unique in nature. Each computer which is connected to the network have a unique IP address which is 32-bit number, and it is expressed as 4 binary octets for convenient notation, right? You can see the example over here of an IP addresses. These four numbers are separated with dots, right? And this makes our IP address. If we want to check our IP address presently, you can go to your command prompt and just enter the command ipfig, and you can easily find out your IP address with this command. Okay, ipconfig. Then uh, this this IP is either configured statically or dynamically. By this we mean, like, we statically we can put it in, we can configure the IP, its subnet mask and the default gateway as well. By subnet mask we mean that the location of the computer where it is located on the network, and by default gateway it provide access to the wider network. Okay. Then further, presently, whatever we are using these IPs, these are actually Internet Protocol version 4. It belongs to Internet Protocol version 4, that is IPv4. Okay, because it is like 2 raised to power 32 bit in number. That means 2 raised to power 32 IP addresses are presently using, we are using 2 raised to power 32 uh, IPs, okay, which are about 4 billion available addresses in number, right? But as you know, the internet user base is increasing. We are presently surrounded with smart devices. More and more number of internet users are increasing. They are adding the family, right? So this 4 billion number has become a restricted one now. We are slowly swelling from 4 billion to more. So for that reason, we have to gradually switch to 128-bit addressing IP, that is known as IPv6. Okay, so we will be having Internet Protocol version 6 in a short time, wherein there will be 8 groups of hexadecimal quadrats, like 8 numbers will be there, which will be separated with dots. I hope the picture is clear, like what IPv4 is and what IPv6 will be like. Okay, so Uh, in a short time, we'll be using these IPv6 IPs for our individual systems. Okay, now let's take a deeper look like how internet actually communicates. We all know that internet is based upon client and server, model, right? The architecture which is followed is like there is one client and there is another thing that is known as server, and both of them communicate with each other, right? Like in this picture you can see there is one client and there is a server, right? I have magnified what there is in the server side. You can see here, like on client side, we know we all are client, we browse data from day to day, that's our normal activity, so we are very much clear with the picture of client, but we do not have entirely, you can say, clear picture about what is there at the server side. So at the server side, you can see there are many web servers. First of all, okay, these kind of web servers, there will be many number of web servers which will be connected to the web application servers. Okay, then these web application server will be further connected or communicating with the database servers. Okay, so what is the role of each one of that this we are going to discuss, then we will go jump into the internet communication. Okay, so web servers actually act as a security guard, you can say. Okay, they will check whether if this is a client. Okay, it is sending some request, let's say some transaction of the this client is trying to do some transaction in the banking website, right? So first of all, this web server will check whether this particular client from where the request is coming, this IP is an authenticated IP or not. It is authorized to use this bank account and make transaction or not. Okay, so web server act as like they will check your credentials. If you are registered to that particular website or that particular web application, then it will allow you to communicate with it, otherwise you cannot communicate. Okay, so these web servers further have a communication or link with web application servers. These web application servers are many in number, and each one of them has, various kind of web applications or websites hosted on it or deployed on it. Whatever communication we perform via internet is on these web application servers only, and the data that we enter into it into the websites or web applications or mobile applications or whatever we retrieve is stored in the database servers. Okay, so web application manages the database to process data. Okay, I hope the entire picture is clear now. So whatever client make request from here through its browser goes to the internet, and through internet this http request goes to the web server check it and it gives it back to the web application server. Further, web application server communicate with database server to fetch the information required by the client, and then it goes back as a response via web server, and this response reaches to the client. I hope the picture is clear now. Further, now, we will be surprised to know that this entire communication occurs just in a blink of eye, right? So we need to understand that what is there which makes internet so quick. So it is basically a set of protocols, not just a single protocol, but it is a complete suite of protocols, which is known as TCP/IP protocol. That is uh, working behind this, right? So this TCP/IP protocol has a very important protocol that we use, that is HTTP. So HTTP, we all know it is hypertext transfer protocol, right? This we use in our daily life. We You might have seen, even the simple non-technical person knows that while entering, like if he is accessing facebook.com, then there will be HTTP www.facebook.com. He might have seen in his daily life, right? So this HTTP is simple and extensible. It is stateless. By stateless, we mean that whenever a request is generated, in return to that, there will be a response. Okay, so it is stateless. That response will be either uh, okay, it will be a positive response or it will be a negative response. That will be an error. Okay. So, as we were discussing about that client might have seen this protocol. So, in the URL is basically uniform resource locator, wherein protocol is entered along with the host name, which is our website name, along with the port number and path and file name. Okay, which we want to access. Okay, then this is uniform resource identifier, which is a subset of uniform resource locator. It is a, you can say, a smaller part or a detailed version of uniform resource locator. Herein we will tell which kind of identifier or what variable or what parameter you want to fetch from that particular file. Okay, like in the previous one, uniform resource locator, we were restricted up till file name only, that is till here, till path only. But in identifier URI, you'll be also having like what kind of request parameter you want. Okay, so that your browser can fetch that particular data to you. Like in this example, there is name anchor. So this name anchor, it will be fetched from the database server through the web application server and web server. Via internet, it will reach the client. It will be displayed on his browser. So this is how actually the HTTP protocol works. First of all, the user issue the URL on the browser over here. This browser sends a request message. Now this is a kind of request message. Whatever URL we send, we just type URL and then press enter. But at the backend, it gets converted into the request message, which is having get method. This is a there are many status methods like get method, put method, head, delete, trace. All these methods are there which help to request the web server. Okay, then it is accompanied with the URL along with the name of the protocol and its version name. Okay, then all the IP address and host name and port number all are mentioned over here in detail. So it, this URL get converted into the request message over network. Then it reaches to the server. Server maps the URL to a file or a program under the document and directory, wherein if that particular page for which this URL was mentioned, which was mentioned in this URL, this particular path and file, if it is found in this server, then it fetches the information and gives back the response message. Now the response message look like this, wherein it gives 200 OK. This is the status code, HTTP status code, wherein 200 OK means whatever the client was asking for is found, and now it is delivering it to the browser. Okay, so in this way, the browser will display the response over here to the client, and this entire communication is done on the basis of HTTP protocol, right, over TCP/IP protocol. So further, let's move. Now, the biggest drawback of HTTP. The biggest drawback of HTTP is whenever there is a communication between the client and the server, or you can say browser and the server, request is being sent and the response is being generated and sent back to the client. The whatever this communication is being occurring, it is in the clear text format, that is in the readable format. Now, any intruder or any attacker or any third person in the middle, he can easily read these instructions. He can change this communication. He can make a number of, he can steal your information as well if it is very sensitive. So you can see one example here. We are having Helen, and she's a girl, HTTP, she's using HTTP protocol and sending her password along with this URL over internet, right? Now, because she's using HTTP method, HTTP protocol, this attacker in the middle, he can easily see whatever is written in the password, right? Because it's in the clear text format. It is in the readable format. It is not encrypted, right? So he can misuse it. He can attack any kind of information which is there behind the password. Okay, he can make misuse of the information. He can steal this information. So next version, which was the secure version, HTTPS, okay, was came into the picture, which encrypts this entire communication being done, so that if attacker see this information, he cannot read it. Okay, it is not into the readable form, it is with password encryption. Okay, so you see the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. This is the reason why the websites which are hosted on HTTPS is increasing these days. They are issuing SSL certificates and all in order to encrypt the entire communication, so that any person in the middle, any attacker in the middle, that is via network, he cannot steal anything. Okay, so moving further, we talked about what internet is, what actually is happening, how internet works, how communication occurs, right? And how a basic kind of theft in information can occur. So you see from the previous analogy, you might have get to know that this information, even a small piece of information, is such an important part to us, right? So we see what information is. Information is an asset. Okay, it is like another other important business assets we have value to the organization. Similarly, information is also very important asset which should be suitably protected. So we need to provide security to the information, which is like protecting the intellectual property of an organization. Okay, it actually is the protection of information which minimizes the risk of exposing the information or exploiting the information by the unauthorized party or by any attacker. Okay, so we need information security for our information. So, what exactly information security is? It is actually not an organizational, it's an organizational problem. It is not an IT problem. Okay, so we see information security as a problem, but we can correct it, we can rectify it if we take few, steps in this direction. If we preserve the CIA trade, that is confidentiality of information, integrity of the information, and availability of the information, that is CIA, then we can assure the information security, right? So you see, the basic objective of information security is in order to save these three things which are heart of the information, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If we safeguard these three things, okay, we will be saving our information only. Okay, so we will consider, we will get into the deeper depth of, we will dive deeper, like what actually it is and how confidentiality is lost and what happens when integrity is lost and what happens when availability of the information is lost. But before that, we must ensure like why we need information security. We need information security to ensure the availability of the business. Okay, because just imagine a scenario wherein in a business its secret files and confidential files are not available, or they are not safe. Then what will be the scenario? Will anyone trust on that business? I think probably not. Okay, so we will have to take care of the risk of loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We will have to protect the data and information system, because if this happens, if this theft happens, or any kind of loss happens, then it will be direct brand loss or reputation loss to your business. Okay, it will also lead to the reduced productivity, but if you are using best practices, then your productivity can be increased. Along with that, if you are ensuring the information security, then it will give you higher level of assurance. There will be competitive advantage also, and you will be able to do business continuity at even at the time of disaster. Okay, you will be easily able to recover from that disaster, and the risk assessment will also be there. So information security all in all is very important. Okay, so further if we see, then we are having I think internet is a bit slow. I hope it is clear to you.
Yes, 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 ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay. So further, the we'll be discussing the security issues which we see in our daily life, right? There is a normal flow, first of all, wherein sender and receiver both are happy. Okay, whatever is being communicated among them, they are communicating with each other. They are very happy. It is a normal flow which is required. But when a third person comes in who interrupts the communication, then both of them are unhappy, right? If the third person, this middleman, this attacker, he modifies the communication, then again it is not a normal flow. And in another case where the attacker is listening to the communication, then again it is not a normal flow, right? Similarly, if the sender is not sending anything and attacker is himself fabricating the messages and sending to the receiver, again it is not a normal flow, right? And further, if there is no reliability among the sender and receiver, like sender said, "Have you got it?" and receiver said, "No, I haven't got," and receiver asks, "Have you sent it?" and sender says, "No, I haven't sent it." So there will be lack of reliability or reputation loss. Okay, so these all are the security issues, right? When there is interruption in the communication via internet, that means there is lack of availability of information, right? Because if there was interruption, it was not able to reach, the information was not able to reach the recipient. Similarly, if it is being modified, that means there is an integrity issue. Okay, integrity is lost. If it is being intercepted, that is, it is being listening, or you can say it is copying, then there is lack of confidentiality. So all these three things leads to the direct hindrance in the way of security of information. Okay, if we say that attacker is fabricating, that means there is no authenticity. The communication is not authentic in nature. And if there is no reliability, that means there is non-reliability in nature. So you see all these three things. If these three are the basic verticals of information security, and add-ons authenticity and non-reputation is again to add on features to the information security. If these features are not there in the information security, then it is of no use. It will be no normal flow. Okay, so you see, we till now we have discussed like there is an unexpected growth in the technology, right? There is unexpected success. In 1990s, we were just having basic connectivities, while in 2000s there are some websites which are like application specific online content is there, right? In 2010s, we bumped up into cloud domain, right? Wherein still advancements are going on. And in 2020s, like in today's era, we talked about like we are surrounded with smart devices which are generating huge chunk of data, right? That is IoT, right? Internet of things. So you see this technology is evolving, its usage is evolving, its value is emerging, right? So as the security problems are also emerging, but we should not stop this evolution, because we should also work on the solution evolution, right? The evolution of solution should all be also be there to these problems. So you see, in the bigger picture, at the base we were having network and information security that we discussed right now. Like our information is lost on the network, our information is lost, right? And on the top of that, cyber security is there. You can say this entire thing, whatever security related things comes under the cyber security. Okay, so cyber security means protecting data and information networks, right? And not only protecting data, because it also focuses on protecting people, because with that data or information, people are connected, either you can say emotionally or physically. Their well-being is connected to the technology, to the information, right? So in order to protect the overall development of the personality, we will have to protect the people, and to protect people, we will have to protect the information. So this is all about cybersecurity. Is okay. So if we see how it is different from IT security, we have discussed information security. We just now discussed cybersecurity. Now, what IT security is? IT security and computer security, these are like one and the same thing. Herein, some security specialist is hired which keep track of whatever technology and whatever updates you do in your organization, right? To make that organization or that company secure from the malicious cyber attacks, right? Which can exploit your private information, which can exploit your internal system, which can gain control on your internal systems and breach it. Okay, so these IT security specialists or computer security specialists, they perform this task. So I hope it is clear like what is information security, what is cyber security, and how it is different from IT security. Okay. And so further, if we move on, uh, another look on how web application or website works, right? As we talked about, like internet works on the client server model. Similarly, this is client and this entire thing is server side. Okay, as we have already discussed. So whenever user make any kind of request, it is received by any organization or any server, wherein there are n number of servers and they check for your authenticity. Okay, they check your credential. If your credentials do not match, they will stop you here only. Otherwise, they can let you go inside this website and you can access the database as well. But if your credentials are not okay, then they will stop you here only. Okay. Further, now, we have discussed that there is some, kind of insecurity, or attacker can attack you, your information. They can steal your information through network, right? And through various other things. Then, what kind of like here we will be discussing these terminologies which are very important as the attacker point of view, right? Let's take a simple example first of all. Like today is the time of pandemic. We all know this. We are suffering from various kind of fears. Like we should be physically strong. We should not have any kind of weakness in it. For that, we are taking some extra vitamins, some extra calciums to improve our immunity, right? So that our body is not that weak. Okay. Similarly, uh, if we talk about information security, then this information security is required at every stage, at every, you can say, step, right? Now, similarly, you were trying to make your body strong. We are trying to make our system strong. Okay, you are trying to make your body strong from the viruses in order to get unaffected from the viruses. Similarly, we are trying to make our system strong to get unaffected from the attacker, right? So few weaknesses are there in our system that we are going to patch them up so that we may not get attacked by the attacker, okay, in order to preserve our security. So, what are those weaknesses? Okay, that we will be discussing. So, these weaknesses are the vulnerabilities. Vulnerability refers to the weakness of an asset, means weakness in your, let it be on your server, weakness in your network, weakness in your website, or weakness in your browser. Okay, so there can be weakness in any, any layer. So, the weakness in any kind of asset which can be exploited by one or more attacker is known as vulnerability. Okay, so we need to fix this bug or defect so as to fix ourselves, our systems to be prone to be exploited and cause damage to one of the element of CIA triad. So in order to secure the information security, we will have to work upon vulnerabilities, that is the weaknesses. Like we work for our body, we take some extra calcium and vitamin. Similarly, we have to patch these vulnerabilities, okay, in order to secure ourselves. Now, from what we have to secure ourselves, that is from the threats. Now, threat is any event that has potential to bring harm to the system or to organization, right? There are various kinds of threat. These are natural threats, intentional threats, unintentional threats, right? By natural threats we mean like there is some flood or there is some storm. And intentional threat or unintentional threat, we all know that if someone is doing or causing some kind of attack intentionally, then that event which is a successful attack is will become threat, intentional threat. Okay. An unintentional threat is like if some student or a beginner is trying to attack something just for the sake of education or for knowledge sake, then that would be unintentional threat. Okay. Similarly, if we talk about risk, then risk is again based upon the threat as well as the vulnerability, right? It is a potential or a power or loss or damage when a threat exploits a vulnerability. Like what would be the risk if somebody attacks you? Okay. So risk is calculated as threat into vulnerability. So you see here, this attacker anyhow gained access to the credentials and he get to enter the web server, and then he reached the web application server and he can exploit this entire database. If your database is exploited, if it is defaced, your website is defaced, then this entire thing is of no use. Okay, so you need to be very sure that your credentials or the attacker do not attack you over here at the browser end. It do not attack you over here at the network layer. It do not attack you over here at the server side. Okay, so you should be very firm and very sure that you are very much secure. So these are the various kind of attack that attacker can attack, with which attacker can attack. The first one is malware. As the name suggests, that malware is what? Malware means malicious. Mal means malicious and ware means software. So these are some malicious softwares, right? Like ransomware and other kind of softwares which actually get installed to your system, and they seize your system completely. They are in entire control of the hacker. Okay, the attacker get to know what is there in your system, what kind of information. The entire file system can be shared to the attacker if there is some malware in your system. Okay, then next is phishing attack. Phishing attack is an attack wherein you receive an email wherein you are asked by the sender, the email sender. And this, first of all, this email look like very genuine email. It will not be written like attacker has sent it. You will not be able to guess that who has sent this email, and they might be asking you to share your password or send your OTP or change your PIN number. And we being a very unaware user, we change it, and we fall into the trap of the attacker. Okay, the next type of attack is password attack, wherein the attacker guesses the password. It can be manually guessing, or there are various algorithms present known as brute force algorithms, which guess the password on the basis of permutation and combination, which we studied in our school time, right? They implement that concept to guess the 8-digit long or 8 integer long password. That is why it is always said that you should have strong password. It should be a combination of capital letter, small letter, numbers and special characters, so that it would be difficult for the algorithm to guess your password. Okay, then further we have DDoS attack. DDoS attack is distributed denial of service, wherein a server is given is requested with millions of requests at the same time, and this server feels loaded and it stop giving any kind of response to any of the request made. Okay, so it is distributed denial of service. Then the next one kind of attack is man in the middle attack. As we have discussed this attack, that the attacker in between the network over network, it reads our information which is being sent in the clear text. So this is man in the middle attack. There can be session hijacking, there can be session fixation, and many other kind of attacks under the man in the middle attack. Okay, then we have drive by download. Here in drive by download, we download various bad things. Excuse me. So with drive by download, various other kind of malware or some trojan or some viruses are also downloaded. Okay, then further maladvertising, wherein bad content is shown to you, and in rogue software, these are the software which are installed in your system, but these are controlled by the attacker in turn. Okay, so you see how these attacks are difficult to even guess that we are being attacked. So we need to be vigilant passing information on internet, okay, to safeguard our information. So how do we save our information? Because to secure our information, we will have to
Mom, your
the
voice is
security
very less.
things.
Can you please check, mom? Karanpreet, mom, can you please check the
Okay.
voice?
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it audible?
Yeah, now it's audible. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So we have to check these three verticals, these three pillars on which information security is based, right? If somebody is trying to crack the encrypted data, that means the confidentiality is lost. Okay, any person in the middle, like man in the middle attack, is there, which is trying to attack on the plain text, then again your confidentiality is lost. Okay, if there is some unauthorized copying of sensitive data or some kind of data leakage is there, again confidentiality is lost. So you see these are some attacks on the confidentiality of the information, and if confidentiality is lost, it is no more secure. Okay, if some spyware or malware is there on your server which is being installed and you are unaware of that, again the confidentiality of your information is lost because the spyware and malware will share all the information and file folder to the attacker. Okay, then further, in the next vertical, we have integrity, wherein web penetration of the malware insertion, your integrity is lost. Your entire data is going to change. There will be unauthorized database scans. There will be forging of your records. They'll be remotely controlling your zombie system. Okay, so in this way, your entire integrity of the information is lost. In another vertical wherein availability is lost, as we discussed in DDoS attack, when many number of requests, like they were flooding to the server, right? Those flooded requests leads to the non-responsive nature of the server, and it denies to give any kind of response. Okay, so like it is in the form of like in ransomware attacks also. In ransomware attack, they attack you, and it's like they are keeping your entire information in the lock. Okay, and you yourself cannot access to that information, so they are asking you ransom for the same, and only then you are allowed to access your own information. So that is called ransomware attack. Okay, where there is forced encryption of key data. So here again, your information which was earlier available to you, now it is not available, it is available with the attacker. So availability of the information is lost is again an attack on the information security. Well, now we have checked now till now, like what information is important to us, what information security is, how attacker attacks, and what kind of attacks are there, where attacker attack, what are the various vulnerable things where attacker can attack, right? And now it's time to know that we have come up to the conclusion that whenever there is some unauthorized modification or deletion or access to our information, that is a kind of attack, right? And we need to protect our information from these kind of unauthorized accesses. Okay, so how we will do that? We will do it by fixing our vulnerabilities. We will have to first identify our vulnerability. What are our weaknesses? Whether our website is weak, whether our server is weak, whether our network is weak, or our browser is weak, where the weakness is, where the vulnerability is. We will first have to identify it. Okay, like in the website, in case of websites, the security audits are being done wherein they check that whether the particular website is weak or not, where all it is weakly developed or not. Okay, because on network we can encrypt the data which is being sent. Okay, in browser we can do privacy settings and we can stop the attacker to attack us. And at server also there are various kind of you can say uh, solutions, security solutions are provided, which can safeguard your entire server system. So the only place where there can be vulnerabilities are at web applications. So security audits are carried out for web security, web application security. For network security audits are there. Okay, so they have been audited in order to identify the vulnerability, and then they analyze it and evaluate it, that what kind of loss they can cause if they are being exploited by the attacker, and then after that it is treated or fixed. Okay, so in this way we fix our vulnerabilities, and for that we first have to secure ourselves. We must know that what information we are having, like whenever we go to some crowded place, we check what all valuable things we are carrying, right? So similarly, we should be aware like what kind of information we are having. Is it important? And how we will secure it if it is important to us. Okay, we will have to assess it, like if it goes to the wrong hand, if it is stolen by someone, then what will happen? How much loss we will have to bear? Okay, similarly, here also we will have to see that if this information goes into the wrong hand, that what would be the damage caused to us. Okay, similarly, we will have to protect it. Okay, so for protecting it we will have to take few security awareness tips. We will have to take care of them. We will have to use common sense, like whenever we are making any kind of transaction, we will have to enter the OTP, and this OTP need not to be shared to someone, right? We should not share our PIN number or passwords to other people. Even we do not have to write it on our system. We should not write it on any paper also and put it on the clipboard. No, it should not be there. Then awareness we need to have. We should update our software time to time. Okay, we should regularly update the patches. We should use antiviruses, anti-spyware, anti-malwares. Okay, be very careful when you are sharing file with someone, when you are downloading something from somewhere, because we usually download like if we want to download a movie and there is some free movie download is there, we immediately jump up like, okay, this is free, of course we should download it. We should first evaluate it, like if it is offering us a free movie, then might be there will be some other cause, there will be something suspicious might be there at the back end which we are not knowing. Okay, so be very careful while downloading. Read all the computer messages very carefully. Don't just click next, 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 next. Okay, 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 don't click it blindly. Just read the message first and then only make decision. Okay, so be very careful while reading any email from the unknown user. If it is having some attachment to it, never open it. Okay, never ever download that attachment from the of the mail which is given by some unknown sender. Okay, and keep your password to yourself and make it very strong. You should have a strong password, which is the combination of capital letters, small letters, numbers, and special characters. So, in this way, you can lead to cyber security, cyber ethics, and cyber safety. Okay, so if in case there is any kind of query, please ask. I hope the session is clear to all of you. If there is any query, please you can ask.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Mom, for completing this
Thank you so
session
much,
on
sir.
time. On time. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Welcome, Mom. Welcome, Mom. And sir, Mom, like if you have any questions, kindly keep it in the chat area so that we will discuss for another 5 to 10 minutes, and we will move on to the next session. Okay, Mom, will the session contents will be shared? Yes, sir. We will share that session contents with you. No problem, Bharat K. Yeah, any other questions which are related to this session? Okay, thank you. How to identify vulnerabilities in our device? Okay, ma'am. The question is how to identify vulnerabilities in our device.
Okay, for device vulnerability, first of all, you must see what kind of device you're using. Are you talking about your laptop, your browser, your mobile phone, or like any kind of? There is entire, you can say, like I personally, I do security audits for web application. There is security audit for network as well, right? So you need to first check that at what level you are trying to do to find vulnerability. Okay, there can be vulnerability at each and every layer. So you need to be very, cautious about setting the privacy setting to your account. If you're talking about social media, there must be privacy setting. You must set it accordingly as per your requirement. Similarly, for browser security, you must ensure the settings of security for browser as well, right? So for your device, you need to be very vigilant about like what is going on in your device.
Okay, ma'am. And yes, sir. Any other questions, ma'am? Okay, if there are no questions, then we will move on to the next session. All
Okay,
right.
sir.
Thank you, Karanpreet ma'am, for your wonderful session as well as enlightening us on various aspects of cyber security issues. Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you,
much,
sir.
sir. Thank you so much.
So there won't be any break. We will continue with the next session, and slowly you can continue. We'll move to the next session on these aspects. Okay. So this session is today like I'm going to handle this session, data protection, password, and mobile app security and browser. So I'll be, we are, as I mentioned to you, like we are not going to discuss deeply, like we are going to discuss like what was data and how do we take care of the basic things with respect to these things. No, no, not at all, sir. Don't save any of your password either in your browser or in your mobile phone, right? So which is, that part we will discuss here now in the browser security. All right. So hope everyone is fine. Then we will move on to the this session for the next 1 hour or so. And in the meantime, like all the officers, like if you have any queries, kindly keep it in the chat area so that by end of the session, like we will try to take it up all the questions. I think one of the sir was mentioning font size kind of thing. I will try to keep it maximum, sir. Sometimes it happens. Okay. So yeah, like madam has already discussed about these things, CIA, triode, like confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So this is very, very, very important with respect to the, cyber security. All right, cyber security refers to set of techniques used to protect the integrity of the networks, programs, and data from attacks and damage or unauthorized access. All right. So this is what it was beautifully explained in a pictorial diagram, like how when the communication goes from one person to other person, so what are the kind of things can may happen. All right, if such kind of things are happen, like how do we protect them? So those aspects are also we have discussed in the earlier session, and I think these things are also discussed clearly, and the vulnerability, threat, and risk. So if anything is happening behind us or in front of us, so most of the time because of these vulnerabilities, without your knowledge, with or without our knowledge, there are always some vulnerabilities are there. So there was nothing is 100% perfect in the world, right? Especially when it comes to the softwares. So there is always kind of issues which are always there. So that is only the reason people like the OEMs, like original equipment manufacturers, they always releases number of patches. Every day you will be getting the updates. So what do you mean by that update? So that update is with respect to the software or hardware device or whatever it is. So those things, like you have to update it on regular intervals, because they have identified some vulnerabilities, because they have identified some gaps in the software. So they are filling the gaps with the patches. So that is the reason, like you will be getting the continuous updates. I don't know, you might be heard about those things, like whenever you are using the smartphone, so every 1 2 months you will be getting the notification says that kindly update your mobile phone with the new operating system or new updates, right? Are you getting any such kind of things either on your operating system or your mobile phone? Kindly say yes or no in the chat area. I wanted to see some responses. Are you getting any notifications saying, like, update your operating system, update your application, update your update your operating system either on your device? All right, thank you so much. I think most of the people are getting. All right, thank you. So I just wanted to see like how many are active and how many are actively listening that session. Of course, like I can find out clearly like who are all listening and who are all passive at this point of time. Okay. All right, thank you so much. So gaps are a weakness that hackers exploit. Sometime in 2019-20, you might have been heard about zero-day vulnerability. Zero-day vulnerability. What do you mean by that? No, the company themselves, they don't know that there is a vulnerability. Company themselves does not know that there was an issue, there was a gap in the software. Okay, so these hackers, like who are the fraudsters are there, they will try to misuse those things, and then they will try to lure the people. All right, so that much danger is involved with respect to the vulnerability. So the vulnerability is nothing but a gap or a weakness that hackers could exploit. So that the gaps may be there in any software, in almost all the softwares. Okay, so how do you protect them? How do we protect? The only the protection is like whenever they give any updates, those updates we have to update on regular intervals so that we can patch up and we can safeguard ourselves from various cyber threats which are happening in the world. Okay, a threat incident with potential harm to system, right, which was discussed by the madam, right, in the earlier. So any incident can happen with harm to the system, like entire system will be in deep trouble, right? So that kind of thing. The potential for a damage with respect to the exploits vulnerability, right? There is always a risk, and if we were in a world like where it is highly risky world. Whenever you are using any of these digital component digital devices or any softwares, there is always calculated risk, but the calculated risk can always be addressed by using whenever they provide these updates and kind of things, so that you can be safe in the digital world. Okay, so these are the some terminologies which you will be hearing. So we thought like we will help you out, what was the definition of these terminologies in a brief manner, so that you can safeguard from such kind of things if something is happening. Right. So there are some always threats in the apps which we use in the mobile applications kind of thing. So because like most of the times our mobile applications, we have to give the permissions. If you are not giving the permission, so most of the times like applications may not work. Okay, so that was the a thing which everyone knows. But the thing is like once they give them the permission, and you can again disable those permissions so that you can protect yourself from various kind of things. Like these are the kind of applications like online tax apps, educational apps, banking apps, shopping apps, job portals, starting and instant messaging applications, travel and hotel booking application, online gaming. These are the varieties of applications you might be using as part of your device, as part of your regular regular activity, right? So almost all are having these kind of applications on your devices, and you You will be using various parts, for various purposes also. Like, can anyone tell like how many mobile applications are there on your device? Can anyone say like how many are there? How many apps are there on your device? Roughly, not exactly. Please tell me the approximate number. Some approximate number. How many apps are there on your mobile device? 20. Very good. Sandeep Roy, that 90. Anirudh, Rakesh, Masham, 20. Very good. Jayanta, okay. Ambika, 15. Okay. Priyanka, Reddy, 20. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. So out of that, there's many number of applications. How many will you use it on regularly? How many will you use it on regularly? See, for example, you have some 15, 20 applications. How many will you use? Meenu Aurora mom, she is having 15. Okay. For 4 to 5, 7. Very good. 5. Okay. Maximum. All right. So maximum, the thing is like Priyanka Reddy 20. She is 15 to 20. She is mentioning. All right. So maximum the number is yes, yes. Another sir, you are perfect. So maximum number of applications we will use in a given day are anything between 5 to 7 mobile applications. Right. So what will happen to the remaining applications? What will happen to the remaining applications? See, for example, we all know that you yourselves can go there and can see, you just click on the gear icon, settings icon, and go to the mobile applications, and click on any mobile application and go to the permission and see like what kind of permissions you have given. You might have been we might have been given the permission like read messages, camera, okay, microphone. So most of the permissions we have given, and our camera, our gallery, videos, whatnot. So all these permissions are there. So for example, 20 applications are there. So all 20 applications, out of 20, like 15 applications are reading all your all your messages, kind of thing. But you are using only 5. But what will happen to the remaining 10? You are not using, but they're listening everything. They're listening, they're reading. So that is where anything can happen at any point of time. If at all, if you are not using these mobile applications for a regular, for a good amount of period of time, then we should, uninstall those applications properly. Before uninstall that mobile application, you have to log out of that application properly. You might have been logged in, no, by using your by using either your mobile number or email ID, or sometimes both email ID and mobile number. All these things are there. Okay. For example, you are not using the app. You find that like you are not using the app. Don't click and drag that application. First log out of that application properly. Log out of that application properly and uninstall in a proper manner. Don't click and drag. Click and drag means it will be removed physically, but logically that application is running on your device. Okay. So that's the difference between click and drag the application and uninstall the application. If you uninstall the application, it will remove everything. Okay, if you uninstall that application properly, it will remove all the components which are related to that application, so that they won't be able to see you like what you are doing. Otherwise, these mobile applications are always watching like what kind of messages you are getting. Either it could be your password, reset pin codes, or password, any of these things. Like you will be getting those important messages, and they will be reading all these messages. So they may misuse at any point of time. All right. You can just go and check like what are the mobile applications are there, and what kind of mobile permissions you have given. Okay, you yourself has told that like you will be having 20 plus application, and you will be using only 5, and out of 20, the remaining 15 applications are there. Those 15 applications you will be using once in a while. Okay, to avoid most of these readings and all that things, if you are not using the tab, if you are not using the tab regularly, what you can do is go to the permission and disable or deny those permissions. Disable or deny those permissions, so that they will be able to read your messages. Okay. Nothing to worry if you are disabling or disable or deny these permissions. Nothing is going to have nothing is going to happen to that application. So whenever you are using that application, that time it will ask you to enable this permission. That time you can go and enable that permission and use that application. Once the usage is over, disable the permission once again. Okay, that is only the thing which you can do it at this point of time. That is only the thing which you can do it at this point of time. So whether the app is required or not, so it will ask you all the permission, and we will give you the permissions. Okay, and the app is become vulnerable without your involvement. Without your involvement, only your involvement is you install the application. But if the app is having any vulnerability, if the app is having any vulnerability, just imagine, okay, your data goes out of your hand. So that is what it happens. So that is only the reason in the digital world, if at all if you are using that application, use it. If you are not using it, log out properly and uninstall that application properly. Okay, that is only the thing which you can do it at this point of time. For example, most of us having this kind of these kind of id, google id. We will be having, most of us are having the gmail id. So what these people are doing, for example, you might have been observed something, right? You have booked a train ticket or a flight ticket or a movie ticket kind of thing, and you will get a notification says that, but today you are traveling from Delhi to Hyderabad or Delhi to Kolkata. Okay, your flight is 7 o'clock, but you suggested to leave by 4 o'clock. Did anyone get any such kind of notifications? Because for example, your movie is 7 p.m., but you will be getting an alert says that like you should leave by 5 o'clock. Did anyone get any such kind of alerts on your devices? Okay. Yes. Yes. I think most of us are returning like yes. Okay. Okay. So that kind of messages you are getting. So what do you mean by that? So what do you mean by that? Thank you, sir and madam, for your response. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So someone is reading. So someone is reading your messages, or someone is trying to understand like what you are trying to do. Okay, that means where you are going. For example, take an example of movie only. Okay, for example of movie only, like your home to movie theater is only 2 kilometers, and you know that like you can travel in heavy traffic also only 30 minutes, but you are getting an alert. So that means like one good thing is like they're analyzing and they're giving. It may be true, it may not be true. Okay, you leave that aside. The other part is they are know like where you are and where you are going, what time you are going out, what time you may be expected to come inside. Someone may be there, someone may not be there during the time like when you go out, but they know like where you are residing, but they also know where you are going. So that is how that kind of tracking they will do. So today morning, I just seen one of the post. Okay, so our IRCTC website is there, right? I think there are people from Ministry of Railways are also might have been joined the session. Okay, it is not to point out any this thing. I'm just giving an example. So one of the user, he posted an alert. He posted a message on the Twitter account of the Ministry of Railways. So what his claim is like whenever he is browsing IRCTC website, he is getting some vulgar messages, and some vulgar images, okay, he is getting. So he said like whenever I'm browsing an IRCTC website, so I'm getting all these vulgar messages and vulgar images and vulgar images. Okay, how someone will get such kind of information, right? See, for example, you are browsing something. For example, you are searching for a mobile phone. You wanted to buy a mobile phone, and you are searching on the internet, and you searched it, and you finish the transaction. You finished the transaction also. After finishing, after closing, next day morning, you once again you came and you open the computer and you open the browser, and immediately you are browsing something or you are accessing some kind of mails. Okay, you are doing something, and immediately you will be getting some kind of notification and alerts saying that the mobile price has come down or the mobile price is gone up. Some mobile prices are gone down or gone up. Will you get any such kind of notifications? Will you please say yes or no in the chat area? Yes, you will be getting such kind of notifications, or you will be getting such kind of pop-ups. Okay, so how is it happening? How is it happening? All right. So someone is storing your search engine. That's what I mean to say. Yes, search engine is there. So what those people are doing, like whatever you are searching, that information is saved by these people, is saved by these people, right? So that is what it happens. Those are the some of the examples where we can understand that ad, search engine, and all these things. So what was the message? That kind of message that they got it. Okay, that kind of message that user has posted on the IRCTC website, on the IRCTC Twitter handler. Then what ministry said? Okay, then what ministry said? The ministry said it is very clearly. The user, I mean to say, like the user who posted that message, he might be viewing such kind of vulgar messages, or vulgar, he might be visiting such kind of vulgar websites. Okay, a vulgar website he is visiting, and that is only the reason he is getting such kind of pop-ups whenever you are visiting. So that is, that is the pattern, right? Whenever you are browsing, if at all, if you are browsing for a news, immediately you open the browser, you will get the things related to the news articles. And if you are browsing for something online, and you will be getting something related to such kind of things. So that is happening at the user end level, that is happening at the user level, not at the website level. So that is what someone has to understand. It is not the problem of that website, it is the problem at user end, since you are browsing such kind of things, and you will be getting such kind of pop-ups. So how do we avoid that? How do we avoid such kind of things, right? So I will show it to you later part. Okay, please, I hope it is clear to all of you, like that how not only Google, any search engine will track like that only, right? So they will track, and they will give you the notifications, advertisements based on your interest only. Okay, so that's it, I think. So how we are getting, so there is this concept called digital footprints. There is a concept called digital footprints. So a digital footprint is nothing but a tail of software, information that exists online about you and your activity. Okay, so whenever you are going to the office, you know that, like, you will be going through that route, and coming through the same route, someone might be observing. All right, so whenever you are leaving, so we were always thinking, like, okay, we will go to the office and we'll come back to the office. So because your motive and your objective is, I should go to the office, work there, come back. That is your intention, and that is what you are intended to do. But there are some people who always follow you. Okay, which you might not be knowing, correct? So you are going to the office and you are coming to the office, but someone is observing, but most of the times you don't know that someone is observing. Okay, in the physical world, in the same way, in the digital world also, you might be browsing something, all right, and you will be getting that information, but there are always people see, like, what is that you are doing, right? What is that you are doing? So that is called a digital footprint, information that exists in online about you and your activity. Whatever the activity you do, there is some kind of information is always lying down in the internet. Okay, so be careful about what you share, where you are sharing, with whom you are sharing, right? So most of the time you will do, you might be receiving something, you will be sharing, and you will be posting some messages, and with whom you are sharing. So all these things you have to be careful. So this digital footprint, so we have two varieties of digital footprints. One is the active digital footprint, and another is the passive digital footprint. Okay, passive digital footprint, name itself says that without your knowledge, you will be visiting. All right, you will be visiting any website. I just gave an example of your mobile phone, right? You will be searching for something, and you finish the transaction. Okay, but someone is capturing, like, some Jayanta is looking for some kind of mobile phone. Okay, you have visited. Okay, and that fellow is captured on that particular device and that particular IP, and you will be getting the pop-ups. Okay, similar, you don't know that someone is observing, but someone is observing, so that you will be getting the pop-ups. Okay, that is called the passive. Without your knowledge, someone will capture your information, like what kind of browsing you are doing, what kind of things you are doing, and they will capture the information. For example, you are browsing, you are browsing something on your browser. All right, you don't know, like, what you are browsing. You might be thinking, like, no one is observing, But someone is observing that, like what you are doing, how you are doing, what are the kind of website you are using, kind of thing. And people also gets that, for example, if I want to find out like what was your IP address and all such kind of things, I can find out what is your browser version. Okay, what was your browser version and what was the issue, kind of thing. So the reason why I'm talking about the version management is, see, for example, today you have a version of 65 version, but you have not updated, you are using only the 60th version, but today the 65 is there. So in the meantime, that 61, 62, 63, 64, so these versions you have not updated. Okay, but you have not updated. So I know that there is a vulnerability, there is some issue at a version of 61. Okay, in the 61 there is a vulnerability, so I can exploit that and I will try to enter your system. Okay, so that is what it happens, unless if you are taking care. Okay, why is it important? The digital footprint, it gives the kind of information, it gives some kind of information to the people. That is a passive thing. And active digital footprint is nothing but you might be sharing some information, right? Whenever you are in a social media thing, and there you will be writing your name, mobile phone, email ID, and all such kind of things. And whenever you celebrate your birthday, marriage day, any of those things, and immediately you will be posting some of the pictures. And whenever you are visiting new places, you will be posting some pictures. Whenever you feel like something is happening, and immediately you will be sharing such kind of information. So user is providing some kind of data, user is providing some kind of data, we ourselves are providing some kind of data, that is active digital footprint. Okay, and without your knowledge, someone is capturing your information, that is a passive. And with your knowledge, you are posting something on a digital media somewhere, and those people, that is how you will be giving the information. So there are two ways. Without your knowledge, something is goes out of, that is one thing. And with your knowledge, some information we are providing, so that is called the active and passive digital footprints. Okay, so with these things, users can capture some kind of information. I just told you, right? Like the browser version. Today's the latest browser is 65, but you will be using the 60th version. So there are a gap of 4 versions. So those 4 versions, there are some issues. Any of these versions, that is what they keep on releasing, right? So that version, I can make use of that, and I will try to enter into your system. Okay, that is what it happens if you are not updating, if you are not following some of these things properly. Be smart about the sites you visit, emails you open, links you click. Okay, I just gave an example of that pornographic content which is coming whenever you are visiting, that kind of thing. So whenever you are doing, so all such kind of information, it is stored somewhere, and whenever you are browsing some other information, this kind of information will come immediately. Okay, for example, you are browsing, no issue. Your spouse or your children are also sometimes they also may use your device. When they are browsing, if they get this kind of thing, distractions, unnecessarily, it is it looks very bad. Okay, so that is only the reason we have to be very careful, like what kind of website you are visiting and all the things. Once such kind of visits are over, you have to remove such kind of information from your browser. How to remove, we will see, okay, in a couple of minutes. Okay, how do you preserve your digital footprint in the digital world? Always think long term before you posting something. If at all you are posting something, you may be deleting. It may not be there, but might hundreds of people might have been visited, or hundreds of people it might have been forwarded. If it is forwarded through your post, you can't do anything. You might have been removed, but the thing is, like, your digital footprint is already there, like it is done by you. So the information, beyond your control. Once you post something, sometimes it goes beyond our control, where you can't do anything, and later part you realize and you want to delete also, you may be deleting. But the thing is, like, by the time the information is gone beyond your control. And keep your personal information very private, and use privacy settings on the social networking pages. Evening we will discuss those things. And protect your privacy and privacy of your friends, right? Whenever you are in a social media things, not only you, your friends list is also visible to the public. Okay, that is your responsibility to protect your protect your friends also, when you are in a social networking front. And have a time limit on the time spent on a social media. Okay, whenever you are using, we are not against to that, but have some kind of time limitations. where you can go to particular time and visit and come back kind of thing. Okay, so this is with respect to the digital footprint. And data production, like what are the things we are talking about, everything, piece of information is also kept, structured and keep it in a form of data. Protection refers to the practices, safeguards and binding rules in place to protect your personal information. So we are keep on talking the personal because all officers are joining. So the same thing is applicable to your organizational information also, right? What are the information is there? You have to follow some good practices to safeguard your personal information. So, for example, whenever you are in office, you know that like you completed that work and immediately you put the file inside the locker, right? In the same way, in the digital world also, whatever the information is there, what are the information you have generated, and what are the information you wanted to keep it under the in a public domain, you should keep it in a properly and you should protect them. You should minimally protect them so that you can safeguard your information, right? Privacy is nothing but is equivalent to personal data. So what do you mean by personal data? Name and surname, home address, email address, whatever the email address which you are having, identification of the card number, location data, internet protocol, like IP address, like whichever you are using, cookie ID, personal health information. All these things are examples of personal data and how do we protect, which is very very key and which is very very, very important, safeguard all your personal information. Okay, if you are not protecting that data properly, what will happen? It may lead to financial loss, and it may lead to reputational damages, loss of sensitive data, and identity theft. It may lead to identity theft. See, for example, you might have been visiting in a Xerox shop kind of thing for Xeroxing your thing. All right. So once you complete the Xeroxing, you have to collect all the Xerox copies, like what are the copies you have to give in. So that means number of copies, whether he is taken any extra or not, you have to check and collect all your copies, and you should come back. Otherwise, by using any such kind of information, it may lead to any financial frauds. Identity theft occurs when someone, without your knowledge, acquires a piece of information would use to commit a fraud. Right? For example, I know the email ID of Jayanta sir. Right? I'm just using your name, sir. Don't. I hope you don't mind. All right. I'm just using your name. I'm just using some of the names. Okay. For example, Vijay. Okay. Bharat is there. Bharat Tar. For example, I know his email ID. Now I can send an email to all his friends on behalf, right? So I will be sending some Bharat Thal. I'm just giving an example. I will be using some XYZ name and I will be sending to a mail on his behalf. Okay, on his behalf, I can send a mail. The thing is like, actually, he is not sent. He is not involved anywhere, right? But the thing is like by using his name, I can send any message. So that reputational damage is there. And we all know that. We all know that. So for example, like whenever you submit or whenever you taken a SIM card, example of SIM card. Okay. You have taken a SIM card and you have used it for some time, later part you just thrown that. You just thrown that. But okay, some people are started misusing those SIM cards. What will happen? On your SIM card is not belongs to him. SIM card is belongs to Bharat sir. Okay, the SIM card is belongs to Bharat sir. The SIM card is used by Jagdish. By using that SIM card, he forwarded some nonsense messages to the some kind of people. Okay, then who is the culprit here? Okay, culprit is the damage and reputation is going to damage it going to damage Mr. Bharat. Okay, Bharat sir damage will Bharat sir whatever the name and all these things, it will be damaged, but he is not involved into the process, but someone is started misusing those things. Okay, so that is what happens in a typical conditions. So we have to be very very careful with respect to all your personal information. Okay, whether it could be your any identity card or some of your identity card like Aadhaar, PAN and all such kind of things, and your office ID and all such kind of things are very very important. At the same time, your credit card, debit card details and all those things also you have to be very careful. So whenever you went to an ATM, you are withdrawn the money and you got a mini statement. Okay, and you have collected and you just thrown that. Okay, there also some piece of information is there. Okay, so if at all if you don't want to use that slip, take it, tear it into a number of pieces, and later part you throw it into the dustbin. Okay, that is what we have to do it. Otherwise, just taking the slip and if you are throwing it to dustbin, no, it is also carries a lot of information. How much amount you are having, how much amount you are withdrawn, what is your name, account number, some details you will be getting. Okay, some details. So based on that, like for remaining details, I will search. I will search your, I'll search about you in the digital media so that I'll get some more information. So all this all the information put together, I can do something. Okay, so that is where these things are very very important. There are so many incidents which are happened by using that identity theft kind of thing. So someone has created complete fake documents. Let me just give you an example. Okay, what they have done, someone got their Aadhaar card, PAN card, and all the things, and they have registered for a GST on his behalf. Okay, someone details, some fraudsters got the details of some genuine people, and they have registered a company, and they have used all these false document to create that default company, and they done a lot of business. They have done a lot of business, and they have not paid by the end of the day. They have not paid any GST. They have not paid any GST. Then the GST people came and arrested those guys recently. But unfortunately, the business is done by someone. All the benefits got by someone. But the thing is, like those innocent people, the people who lost their identity details, those people were caught, and they were telling all these things. And the case was registered on them, right? So when the police people have investigated, and they found like someone has done on his behalf. Now, but in the meantime, like whatever the mental trauma or mental tension which has happened, it is always there. You and me know that like you have not done anything, I have not done anything. But on our behalf, someone has done. So that's the kind of things which are happening in the present world. Okay, so we have to be careful, like what are the information we are carrying. So by telling all these things, I don't want to threaten you, but we are informing with some of the live examples and some of the things which are happening in the current world. Let me give you a small example. Okay, during the COVID-19 period, like last 1 to 2 years, most of the people might have been purchased these oximeters, right? Anyone of you purchased oximeters? Please say yes or no. Anyone purchased any oximeters? Yes. Okay. Some people said no. Very good. Thank you for your responses. Now tell me, how many are refunded? How many are returned it? How many are returned it back? Please say return. Please say return in your message. If anyone has returned that message, anyone has returned that thing, please say yes. Not returned. Very good. Anyone returned? No. Very good. No. No. Okay. Okay. Not no not returned. No. No. Very good. So no one is returned in this group. What happened? Yeah, it looks like very funny. The damage has happened, where you cannot imagine anything. So what they have done, some people have supplied some of these fault machines. So these people have tested and which is not working, and immediately they have returned it back as per the policy, and they have a return policy also. So most of the times these things may not have a return policy, but those guys have accepted the return policy. So what these guys have done, they have collected these things, like whoever is collected, they have tested, and they have returned it back since it is not non-functional. So what these fraudsters have done, they have collected all that oximeters. Okay, initially they have supplied the faulty oximeters only. They have collected these thumb impressions. So what are the thumb impressions are there? They have collected all these thumb impressions. They have collected your entire address is there, your name is there, your address is there, your mobile number is there, everything is there. So what these people have done, they have collected this information, and they have created a fake Aadhaar cards, and they started misusing on their behalf. Okay, so this is what happening in the lockdown period. I'm not telling any conquerable stories. I'm just telling like what was happened in the thing. You also can just go to the Google and search oximeter frauds. Okay, then you will try to then you will at least you will understand like what is that we were trying to talk. And the GST case which has happened in recently, and still police people are investigating like who done where they have done kind of thing. Okay, so identity theft, it may lead to passwords, bank accounts, credit card, debit card numbers, information stored in users' computer, mobile phone, such as contacts, videos, images, sensitive documents, kind of thing. We have just discussed that thing like what was happened. So how do we like what are the preventive mechanisms, like what are the preventive mechanisms someone should follow? Safeguard your personal information, protect your passwords. How do you protect your passwords? Be protect your passwords with respect to your credit card, debit card, and destroy and shred the receipts not required, which I just mentioned to you, and review your records regularly. Like whenever you are having any this credit card, debit card, please check your records regularly, like whether the expenses are done by you or someone else. Then you should check and report them accordingly. Be cautious with phishing links. We will discuss this part in the afternoon. And monitor your online accounts at regular intervals. And be careful while using the public Wi-Fi. Okay, you might have been heard about this public Wi-Fi and open Wi-Fi. And whenever you are using these public Wi-Fi and open Wi-Fi, be careful. So our sincere suggestion to all of you is never ever do any financial transaction on a public or open Wi-Fi. Browse it, get information, but never ever do any financial transactions on a public or a open Wi-Fi kind of thing. Okay, so please follow that. And why similarly, like you started using the public Wi-Fi. I also started using the public Wi-Fi. Someone else is also started using the public Wi-Fi. So once you have started using that public Wi-Fi and all that information is available, if any fraudster will can track that and find out like what is the browsing you're doing, and if they found like you're browsing that any financial transactions, they will try to capture your username, password, and they will misuse such kind of things. Okay, in the digital world, if you want to be secure yourself, you need to have a very strong password. Okay, very strong password. What do you mean by strong what do you mean by password? Is nothing but a secret code which is generated, which you can safeguard yourself in the digital world, right? How do you lock and key? You'll use it to secure your home. In the same way, in the digital world, if you want to safeguard yourself in the digital world, you should have a very good strong password so that you can safeguard yourself in the digital world. So what do you mean by strong password? A strong password should contain capital letter, small letter. You might be knowing, and you will be regularly getting those kind of alerts from somewhere or other. Daily you will be getting. So you have to set your password as suggested by your service provider. Like what are the suggest, you have to follow those things, and you have to protect your information in that fashion. Use different password for each of the service. See, for example, you might be having online bank account, your office account, and you will be having your private personal email ID. So for all these accounts, you need to have a different passwords. Do you have a different passwords for your different accounts? Can you please say yes or no? The example which I have given you is your online banking, your personal email ID, your professional email ID. Do you have a different passwords for all your accounts? Do you have different passwords for different accounts? Very good. Very good. I think almost all people are having different accounts, different passwords. Very good. Thank you, Deepak sir, for all your responses. And use long and complex password. Use long and complex passwords. Change the password regularly. How frequently you can change your password? You should, change your password at regular intervals. Like how frequently you change your toothbrush. All right. How frequently you change your toothbrush? You might be changing your toothbrush primary by end of second or third month, or by end of third month, or anything between 3 to 4 months kind of thing. Okay. In the same way, you should change your passwords regularly, and prefer randomization rather than a sequencing. For example, if your password is containing 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, don't do that. Try to keep some kind of randomization. Okay. Don't use your past pages on a shared computer. Don't save your passwords on a shared computer, or never ever store any of your passwords on any of the devices. Okay. Test your password. Use past pages. All right. So someone is asking like, how do you remember a passwords? So that part also we will discuss. So this way you can have a strong password so that you can safeguard your things. Nowadays, so almost all accounts are providing this two-factor authentication. Whether the two-factor authentication, it could be a second, second authentication. That second authentication should be used for all your email addresses, social media accounts, banking applications, and all these things. So what do you mean by that? So this is a second level authentication. In the first session, you have heard about the authentication. From one information is passing from one person to other person. The information, if the data flow is correct, no problem. If any interpreter is there, then the data will be read and they will be modifying, and they can do any of these things. So in the same way, to avoid that, to avoid such kind of things, you need to have second level authentication. So first level authentication will be giving your username and password, and you immediately will be logging in. But if you keep one more layer of protection, so that is a two-factor authentication. So the two-factor authentication, it could be a thumb impression or facial recognition or a pin kind of thing. Okay. So for example, you might be doing online transaction. Then you got your username and password. Once you enter, immediately you will be logging onto your account. But if you adopt this second two-factor authentication, they will be sending you some passcode. If you enter that passcode only, then you will move on to the thing. For example, your username and password compromises also. Okay. The fraudster may not be knowing your mobile number. If you know your mobile number also, he don't know like what was the OTP. Okay, because that OTP is with you. Unless and until you share that OTP with that fellow, they cannot do anything. Okay. So now in almost all these online banking accounts, they have provided this two-factor authentication. So please enable the two-factor authentication for all your accounts, so that you can safeguard all your hard-earned money, as well as all your personal information. Okay. Hope it is clear. In the first screen, username and password is there. Click login. Plus, you will be getting a OTP or thumb impression or some kind of hardware dongle. You have to keep it. Then the transaction will be materialized and you will be logged in. Okay. So that's the usage of the two-factor authentication. Okay. And personal information in the password makes it a weak password. Okay. So now tell me. So most of the people said like you had a different password your different accounts. Okay, so any of your password is containing either your information, your family information, or either your name or your details, your name, your date of birth, or your spouse date of birth, your spouse details, or your kids details. Please tell me frankly. So whenever you are setting a password, the password is definitely containing either your name or your personal details, your spouse details, or your children details. Is anyone having a password which is not containing the details? So most of the people are having their password with their personal information. Correct? Is it so or no? Okay, someone said no. Vijay Bhavan sir. Okay, very good. Is it so? Your password is not containing your personal information. Is it true? Is it true? Very good. If that is the case, it is very good. Okay. So if at all if your password is containing any of your personal information, kindly change it. Okay. And regularly change the password. As I mentioned to you, keep your password as secret as from your family members too, and create a personalized pass pages as a password, following the password creation criteria. Okay. So what do you mean by this pass pages? So the pass pages are nothing but, so this is the a simple thing. I never judge a book by its cover. So what was the password? We can say MJ at the rate 66, exclamatory mark C. You can just see like what do you mean by that MJ at the rate 66 exclamatory mark. Can you break this password? If at all, if you are keep a password like this, can you break? Okay, it is not that easy, but you can break it, but not immediately, but it takes years together. Okay, so if you keep your password like this, either some sentence or take some songs, like whenever you are singing a song or you like something, you phrase do word phrasing, and from there you can make like this in a passphrase so that you can protect your information. Okay, as I told you, your password should contain, you should have a different password for your different accounts is first one. And second thing, ensure that your password should not contain any of your personal information. And the third thing is like try to keep it as a passphrases so that you can remember your password for a longer period of time, right? If you make a sentence like this, if you make you take any song, for example, any song which you like, take the first stanza of the song, or a few words of the song, and try to convert that song as a password, your password. Okay, so that way you should set strong password so that you can safeguard your presence in the digital world. Okay, hope it is clear to all of you. Is the password is clear to all of you? Okay, yeah, thank you. And we is the session goes 15-20 minutes beyond the 12:30. Is it okay with you? If the session goes beyond 12:30, is it okay with you? All right, thank you. Okay, I think most of the responses are okay. So because like these are all very long concepts, we need a good amount of time to discuss these things brief manner, whatever we are trying to cover it. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so now we are going to discuss very important session called browser security. All right, you have seen like now we have learned about digital footprint and password security, and you also learned about like what are the mobile app some risks here and there. Okay, and you will be discussing about a browser security. So like there are so many browsers are there. Thank you, ma'am. And you will be using some kind of browsers. So let me go to the browser. I don't want to show it to the PPT. Let me directly go to the browser so that so that I can show it to you. Okay. Let me go to the browser. Yes. So I'm just opening my browser. Okay. So we have discussed some aspects, right? So whenever you are browsing something, next day morning also you will be getting some kind of information, right? Next day morning also you will be getting some kind of information. So what do you mean by that? So someone is storing some of your information, hence you will be getting those kind of things on your browser on a regular intervals. Okay, so now we will be talking about the browser. So this is the browser. I just opened it, and there is something called three lines are there, some horizontal lines. You can just see here three horizontal lines are there. I'm just clicking on the three horizontal lines. Then you will be getting sync save data, new tab, new window, and a new private window. You just see. Okay, new private window, new tab. You will be opening a new tab, and there is something called new window, and you will be getting a new window altogether, right? So tabs in the sense in the one browser session you will be getting this many number of tabs, and but in the new window you will be getting a separate window, and there is something called new private window. Let me click on that new private window and read by yourself. What do you mean by that new private window? New private window, which is a new private window. It says that private window clears your search and browsing history when you close your private window. This does not make you anonymous. Okay, so what will happen? So in the Mozilla Firefox it is called as a private window, but in the Google Chrome browser it says is a incognito mode. Okay, there is something called incognito mode and there is something called a private window, but both names are different because the companies are different, the names are different, but the functionality remains same. So what these people will do, whenever you are doing anything in a private window, it won't, okay, it won't store your browsing history. It won't store your browsing history. For example, today morning you came and you visited one website, online banking, and second thing you visited some news websites, and third thing you are started browsing something. So all these things, anyone and everyone will do that activity. But if at all, if you are doing on a regular browser, so all that information is captured. But if you choose an in the private window or incognito window, it won't store your personal information. It won't store your browsing history. It won't store your browsing history. For example, in this browsing history, you are searching something, right? You are searching for a mobile phone. Okay. So I was searching for this information, but it won't be stored. Right. You will be getting something related to the mobile phone. But this information is won't be stored on your browser. So that's the advantage in a private window or incognito window. Whatever the browsing you are doing, this browsing history won't be stored. Okay. I hope the point is very clear to all of you. It won't store your browsing history, but whereas if you are doing here, that information is stored. Okay, so that's the with respect to the browsing. So whenever you are doing any financial transactions, you can use the private window so that it won't store any of the information. Right? We talked about the digital footprint and all those things. So those things also won't be there. But it won't be there on your browser, but in the ISP level, like internet service provider, like who is providing the internet to you, so those people will have your digital footprint on their server. Okay, so because if at all if you are done with fraud, I should capture, right? I should find out like who has done this fraud, from which IP address, and through that IP address I can find out like who is using that IP address, kind of thing. Okay, for legal enforcement agencies, it is like required at the personal end, it will be saved, but ISP level it will be stored. Alright, those people normally it won't come, but if at all if any fraud is happened on from your IP address, then those people will come into the picture. Okay, so that is with respect to the incognito or private window. Okay, and bookmarks, history, and all the things. For example, if you click history, you can just see like what are the websites I am visiting. Okay, so that history you are getting, and there is something called clear history. If you remove this clear history, it will remove all your history. Okay, and that is called clear history. And downloads, like what are the downloads are there, it will be there. And passwords, for example, if at all if you are storing any password, all your password information is available here. All your password information is available here. If at all, for example, you have given your username and password, immediately it will ask you, do you want to save me your password for next transactions? Yes. If you say yes, immediately they store your password along with your username. Okay, they store password along with your username, so that for example, you have used that browser, and say for example, I'll just show you some of the things I just stored here. Okay, okay, there is a website, something, I just stored some of this information for some purposes. Okay, so this thing is there. So you can see your password here. Okay, you can see your password here. Password. If you click here, immediately you can see that password. Immediately you can see all your passwords. So if at all if you are storing any of your thing, and immediately you can see all the passwords, like what are the passwords you are storing. You can, the same system is used by someone else. See, for example, you have used that system, and you have done a transaction, you stored your personal information, either your family member or your colleague or someone may see, someone may go and see that, and they can easily know that, like what is your username and password. Okay, so that kind of threats are there. So never ever store any of your usernames and passwords in any of the browsers. Okay, print, save, and all the things. There is something called settings. There is something called settings. Click on that settings. Okay, if you click on that settings, there is something called, you just type browser here, you will be get. Okay, I'll show you that, no problem. If you click on that browser, if you come here, there is something called language, files, adoption, application, and all these things. Firefox updates, like when it was got updated, browsing and network settings, all these options are there. So here you can just type browser. Okay, so here Okay, browse things. So something called history, alright? History. So it stores all your information. See, by default, remember browsing and download history. By default, it is just if you choose no, it won't store. If you remember, you must search from the history, and by default, it is just if you say no, it won't store. Okay. So these things you have to check it in your browser whether these things are enabled or not. If it is enabled, you should disable those things and you should clear your history. Every at least 2 to 3 days, you should clear your history. See, a lot of information is there. If you click yes, it will remove all your browsing history. See, now there is no history. Okay, so you can remove all your history. Alright, once you remove this kind of history, I gave an example, right? Whenever you are browsing, you will be getting such kind of, pop-ups kind of thing. So that things you can avoid it. Okay, there is something also called cookies. So what do you mean by cookies? Cookies is a small piece of software. Cookies is a small piece of software, which stores your information. See, cookie and site data, clear data. If you click on clear data, it will remove all the clear data. Cookies are essential. Cookies are required. But nowadays the cookies are very, very intelligent. Whatever the information you are browsing, all that information those cookies are saving. Cookie is a small piece of software. So where it will be used, for example, you are typing a username. Okay, that should be stored. And next box you are coming and you are typing password. So in the meantime, that information should be stored temporarily. That information should be stored temporarily. Your username will be stored temporarily when you type the password, and that also should be stored temporarily. If the cookies are not there, when you're typing username, password will go off. Username you typed it and you came to the password, username will go off. And you typed the password and you went to the next box and the password will go off. Okay, to avoid that, the passwords are got created and these cookies will store temporary information. Cookies are created to store temporary information. Okay, till that session happens. So till the browser is there, that information is there, and once the browser is closed, that all the information should be removed, supposed to be removed. But nowadays the cookies are very, very intelligent. The cookies are storing your information. See, I gave an example, right? When you're searching for a mobile phone, today you finish that, next day also you will be getting that related, advertisements kind of thing. So those people are storing that information, and they will giving such kind of, notifications and all such kind of things. Okay, so you have to remove those cookies in a frequently. For every 2 to 3 days you should remove those cookies, so that like it won't store any of your information, so that you can safeguard your information. Okay, I hope it is clear. Browsing history you have to remove, cookies you have to remove, and all these things whenever you are doing any critical transactions, you may use the private window. Okay, so these are the some important aspects with respect to the browser. Remaining things you can check it, all these are windows. You can just click and try yourself, so that you can safeguard your information. Okay, there is something called extensions. Privacy and security are there. In the privacy and security, by default it is standard, and if you keep it to the strict, some of the filters it will apply, some of the things you can store it. Okay, cookies and site data, you might have been seeing login password history and all such kind of information is there. And there is also called extensions, and there is called something called extensions. So for example, someone might have been joined this session, today's session, through a browser. If at all if you are joining a browser, they might have been asked to install this extension. If you install that extension only, you might have been joined this session. Otherwise they won't allow you to join this session. Okay, so these are the some of the extensions like Cisco WebEx for the WebEx people, and HTTPS everywhere, and Netcraft extension. So these are the some kind of add-on softwares, plugins, or extensions which we are using. So for example, these things, if at all if you want to join that WebEx today's session, you might have been asked to download that and install, and you can join, because Cisco is a company like where they will be updating those things, it is very clear. And there is something called HTTPS everywhere and Netcraft extension. Okay, we'll just HTTPS everywhere is nothing but whenever you are doing any online transaction, see that, like, all the time HTTPS is there. Okay, for example, I just pressed onlinesbi.com, so that is HTTPS is there, whether the HTTPS is there or not. So whether the HTTPS is there, lock symbol is there, and the digital signature is there or not, those things you have to check. And I will discuss these aspects once again in the evening session, last session, but I'm just giving an example. So these are the extension. So what these HTTPS everywhere will do, will create or will establish a connection between the source and destination in a perfect manner, in a secured manner, So for example, you are visiting a HTTP site, but to establish that connection from your system to that website, to establish that connection, if you are using this HTTPS everywhere, it will ensure you that a secure connection is established. Okay. Second is Netcraft extension. There are so many plugins and extensions are there. You can use that. So what this Netcraft extension will do, will check you whether it will provide you some basic information about the website which you are using. See, for example, I have installed these things. Okay, since I have installed, you will be seeing here. So you can just see here Netcraft extension. See, for example, if I disable, it will go off. Okay, if I enable this immediately, okay, immediately it will come here. You can just see, you can observe here. Okay, Netcraft is there. Now Netcraft is not there. If I click here, Netcraft extension will come. So what Netcraft extension will do? For example, I'll just type my website name, infosecawareness.in. Okay, infosecawareness.in. I was just checking here. Okay, I just typed this website and I'll just go and click on this Netcraft extension. So what this Netcraft extension will give you, it is a website launched in India. When is it launched in India and where is it hosted? And if you want to see more details, click on that site report. You can go to that site report. Okay, you will be getting some more information with respect to that infosecawareness.in, where it is launched, what is the site ranking, whether the site is safe or not. Okay, you can just see here HTTPS is there, no? HTTPS infosecawareness.in, and you will be getting a lot of information. Okay, so this is done in here. This is the IP address, some registry details, all these things you will be getting. Okay, some information you can just check it. This information you will be getting. For example, I will type another website name. Okay, I'll just have some website name. Okay, so this is a message. Some people might have been received this. Right. So this URL I have. I'll just go and type this URL. Okay, I'm just typing. Okay, okay. Now is it visible, sir? Now is it visible? Okay, thank you. So instead of that, infosecawareness.in, so there is something called register for laptop, register for free laptop. So this is the website. I was just typing here. Okay, that website name I just typed it here. I just copy pasted that information here. So it is going to somewhere else. So I'll just click that infosec awareness that website. So the websites you can just see it will launch it somewhere. SSLV it is not providing. It is not giving any information. If you visit that site report, you won't find like what are the information you got it in the earlier thing. Okay, so most of the things you don't know like where it was hosted, who it is hosted, company name, nothing is there. All right, at least the site ranking is there somewhere, but site name is there, but who is the owner, GitHub, that is not a GitHub, so some XYZ people are owning this. So these things you won't get any proper details. Okay, so you won't get these details properly, so that you can using by this Netcraft extension or this some of these extensions you can use it to find out whether the website is correct or not, or it is a fraudulent website kind of thing. Like that, like you can get this kind of information with respect to the thing. So the browser is very, very important. Whenever you are doing any internet connectivity, browser plays a very, very key role, right? Whenever you wanted to do something, you will be use the browser, and you have to regularly remove that browsing history, cookies, and all those things, and never ever store your passwords, kind of thing. If at all, if you are storing that information, there are always chances that other people can misuse that. And by any chance, if your system is compromised, means like if your system is gone out of your hand, then those people can access your information. Okay, so such kind of things also can happen. So because of those reasons, you have to have very good secure thing, password, password policy and all these things. And at the same time, you can browse, you can uh, you should careful about your browser. You should update your browser, or whenever they provide those things, you have to update your browser in regular intervals, so that you can safeguard a whole lot of information. Otherwise, there are always chances that information goes out of your hand. Okay, so this is what I just shown it to you in a practical manner. You can just go there, privacy and security, and you can apply all these things. Okay, so these things are always there. You can just go and see browser there also. You can do the same thing, like I just shown it to you. These things is HTTPS everywhere. So this is a protocol, ensure you secure before you visit that website. Okay, Netcraft, it allows you easily look up the information relating to the site you visit, and provide a protection from phishing and malware attacks, kind of thing. There are ad blocks plus, it will block your advertisement. And Shudan, it is a plugin where you can do the search engine, like other search engines like Google and these things. Okay, so this is with respect to the information with respect to the browser security and all the things. So I think there are some questions which are coming. So let me take out those questions. And if you have any questions, please please put it in the chat area, so that I will try to respond those queries. Okay. What are the security softwares we are supposed to use? No, as such, there are no security softwares, sir. So the thing is, like, what are the operating system you are using? Ensure that you are using, proprietary software. Like, it is not a pirated software. It is a original software. You should use original software. So whenever they are giving that updates, you have to update your you have to update your software on regular intervals. And besides your operating system, you should have a very good antivirus where it can alert you, or where it provide you some kind of information. Right? You should have a very good antivirus software, so that you can protect your system from any of these kind of attacks, kind of thing. Alright, if you have those things, you can aram say secure your system as well as these things. What are the security softwares we use? Thing font size is very, need to be very careful. Yes, please see my question. How safe is working behind your proxy server? So proxy servers, are set to to stop some of the attacks which are happening on your system, right? Proxy servers are meant to safeguard the things from the outside threats. Okay, from the outside threats.